As I mentioned in the intro to this DVD, Antares has long been synonymous with professional pitch correction. But in recent years, producers and artists have been using autotune products to create a specific vocal effect, sometimes referred to as the Cher, Snoop Dogg, or T-Pain sound. In this chapter, I'll show you how to produce this sound using exactly the same methods as the pros. By now, I've mentioned the term pitch quantization a number of times, and since this is an important term to understand while trying to achieve that signature sound, I'll demonstrate it one more time in clear terms, then I'll show you the instantaneous effect this sound has when part of a complete track. To start, load up the project file into your host audio application. It can be found in the example files folder included on this disk. Let's take a listen. This is a simple sine wave. It starts on A2, sweeps up an octave to A3, and then comes back down to A2. In other words, it covers a 1-octave range. Notice that there is no distinct notes in this sample. Being computer generated, the tone goes from tone to tone without any intermediate breaks. Next, add Autotune EVO to this track as an insert plugin. You may be surprised at how quickly the Autotune vocal effect can be achieved. In its most simple form, pitch quantization can be made with only 2 or 3 steps. We'll do it in 2 to start. First, set the key to A. Next, set the retune speed to 0 and have a listen. I'll let this play twice. Notice that every note in the chromatic A scale can be heard rather clearly. None of the in-between notes can be heard. Let's switch to the graphical correction mode to see how this works visually. First, let's track the pitch of the audio. But wait, why aren't the changes we made in the automatic correction mode still heard? Remember that the changes we made to the retune speed do not apply here, at least not yet, since the graphical correction mode has a separate set of retune and vibrato controls. We need to bring over the changes we made in the automatic correction mode. As we saw in an earlier chapter, we can do this by simply clicking Import Auto. Disable track pitch first. There. The green output curve says it all. Take a look at how the pitch leaps from semitone to semitone with instantaneous speed, as if magnetized to the grid lines. Let's head back to the automatic correction mode. I should point out that it's also very common to set the appropriate scale when pitch quantizing vocals especially. This reduces the number of in-between notes that the audio track can land on, and it helps to make the effect more obvious. You actually have 3 approaches to reduce the number of notes. You can simply choose the scale from the drop-down menu at the top here. You can also just simply click Set Major in the Edit Scale display. Or finally, you could click notes on the keyboard display to individually choose which notes to include or exclude from a custom scale. I personally like the second approach because it starts you off with a nice-sounding major or minor scale, but then allows you to instantly modify the scale in either the Edit Scale display or keyboard display. Now that I've set this to major, let's take a listen. Now we're only hearing the 7 notes of the A major scale, not including the second A of the next octave. Let's go back to the graphical correction mode to see how our changes to the scale have affected the output curve. Note the number of notes or steps in the curve before and after I click Import Auto. Let's take another listen. This has hopefully been an interesting, perhaps theoretical demonstration, but let's open another example to hear this effect on some real-world vocals. Open up the example project in Logic, or simply import the contents of the audio files folder into your host audio application. It really doesn't matter which DAW you use here. Take a listen to this simple but fun recording.
Love, chase me away. If I find out I've been a fool.
Your love, please teach me the way and help me live with this fool.
Let me tell you now that you don't know what it's like always to chase you down, 'cause you won't come to me.
All I know is you don't care to say where you've been hanging around.
First, let's add the auto-tune vocal effect to the male vocal. Let's mute the female vocal for now. Select the male vocal track and then add auto-tune EVO to the first insert slot. I'll choose mono since each vocal only has one channel. Let's determine the key of this track by watching the keyboard display during the first seconds of playback.
Love, chase me away.
The first note appears to be G, and since the guitar started on that chord, we can be pretty sure that the key is G major. Let's set the key and then click Set Major in the Edit Scale display. Now all we have to do is set the retune speed to something faster than what it's at right now. For the most dramatic effect, set it right to 0. Now let's take a listen.
Love, chase me away. If I find out I've been a fool.
That sounds pretty good already. At this point, you can essentially add or remove notes from the scale or specific notes from the keyboard to instantly alter which notes the singer will sing. The best way to get the sound you want is to adjust the tracking control. To have EVO be a little more choosy in which notes should be processed, increase the dial in small steps and listen carefully. For whole tracks, it's sometimes a good idea to automate the tracking control dial using your host audio application. We'll look at automation in greater depth a little later on. Another good approach is to simply use the import auto function in the graphical correction mode, as you saw in the previous chapter. I'm going to set this to around 30. Remember, this setting is completely dependent on the material and how well it's recorded.
Love, chase me away. If I find out I've been a fool.
I like how it sounds. Let's unmute the female vocal now. I want to hear them together as a duet.
And help me live with this fool.
Let me tell you now that you don't know what it's like. Always to chase you down. 'Cause you won't come to me.
All I know is you don't care to say.
Of course, we could have saved the settings we had in EVO as a preset within our host application, but since it's so quick and easy to get the pitch quantization sound, I'll just follow the same steps with the second vocal. But this time, I'll do it while the track plays, so you can hear how each of the steps affect the sound.
Love, chase me away. If I find out I've been a fool.
Your love, please teach me the way. And help me live with this fool.
Let me tell you now that you don't know what it's like. Always to chase you down. 'Cause you won't come to me.
All I know is you don't care to say. Where you been hanging around when you don't come home. Love, lift us away.
Let's quickly add a third example. This time we'll add some vibrato and other effects. Load up the next example in the example files folder on this disk. I've already loaded this song and told EVO that it's in the key of E minor. Listen as I gradually increase the vibrato and then tweak the throat length of the singer.
The last thing I wanna do.
I'll increase the vibrato rate. Reduce the onset delay to have the vibrato come in more frequently. Next, I'll increase the amplitude and formant amount to have vibrato affect them more. For a really strange sound, I'll play with the throat length setting. That concludes our discussion of the auto-tune vocal effect. Stay tuned for a more in-depth explanation of vibrato.